Hello and welcome to the As a Woman podcast and initiative of Ep3. We are still on our solidarity against sexual and gender-based violence season. For us at Ep3, it's important for us to garner an inclusive approach to ending violence against women. And for that, today we have in the studio Armah, who is the founder and executive director of Youth Community. Youth Community is a youth development organization. And we also have Kojo Osei Ghansah, who calls himself a traitor to his gender. He is a feminist ally and an activist. Welcome to the studio, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Before we start, is there anything you would want to say about yourselves? I'll start with Kojo.
I guess I'd like everybody to know that I am unashamedly a great supporter of women and women's rights and children's rights. And I believe that as a man, which is a very weird thing for me to say, but as a man, it is my duty to do whatever I can to make sure that happens.
That's a really important disclaimer. Thank you. Oko.
Okay, well, this is also a disclaimer, but I mean, working in the area of youth development, I have also come to understand the importance and significance of women's rights and even the feminist movement towards development. And for that, my work and everything centers on that and how that can help contribute positively to development. So that should tell you that a lot of our ideas and our work is mainly channeled through the feminist movement. It's one of the key pillars that we work on to make sure that women's voices and rights contribute positively to development.
Thank you, Oko.
You're welcome.
So now we can get straight into the discussion.
Yep.
You've both mentioned that you work in women's development or women's rights. Oko, how did you get into the sector?
So I primarily, like by the mentioning of my name as Oko, I'm Ghan, so automatically you know that I'm a twin. But I didn't grow up with my twin sister. So out of curiosity, as a child, I don't understand why would a woman be pregnant for 9 months, sometimes even beyond 9 months, and then give birth to the child and sometimes go through complications. Sometimes the mother may die or the child may die or both. Because why should I lose my twin sister? And even if I have, no other person should lose their child from giving birth to them or from bringing life. So I just didn't understand and I was extremely curious. But it was almost like a topic that nobody wanted to talk about in the house. And of course, for women, I can understand because carrying through your pregnancy and losing your child is not something you would look forward to talking about. But then I realized that in my community, this is something that happens. The men are aware, the women are aware, and all of that. So after reading about pregnancy issues and everything, I went to my community health clinic and I spoke to the matron. What can we do to help, curb this issue? Because it shouldn't happen. It shouldn't be normalized. And so that is what started my whole journey, understanding women's rights and health and well-being, and then in the area of development. So that's how I started.
So infant mortality led Oko into activism.
Yeah.
Thank you, Oko, for sharing. Kojo, how did you become a traitor to your gender?
Well, it's interesting. Started a long time ago. So when you sent me those questions, I thought about it and I realized that I have actually always been an activist from my childhood. It's just probably when this whole internet thing became a thing and I started writing posts and getting into fights, getting disowned by my gender. That is when maybe I became like an online activist. But from my childhood, one of the things that everybody who grew up around me knows is that there is no way you're going to be abusing women, you're going to be talking down on women in my presence. I will fight you like as a child. And maybe a lot of it stems from my love for my mom. I'm a mom's boy, like a really mama ba. I love my mom and I watched her as I was growing up, all the things she was going through, everything she had to deal with. A lot of it has to do with misogyny, a lot of it has to do with sexism, a lot of it has to do with men not doing the right thing for women that they supposedly say they love and they supposedly say they care about. So it started from there. I grew up in my secondary school days. I was in the cadet and I was this big guy, always fighting my friends over girls, like don't touch her, don't touch this, don't abuse her. Went to university, the same thing. you will always find my female friends in my room.
Mm.
It's sad, but they always come there because someone has tried to abuse them, someone has raped them or tried to rape them, and I'm the one dealing with counseling them, talking to them, and dealing with the guys that did these things. So I've always been an activist. I just probably maybe became labeled an activist when I started this whole internet, writing my posts and articles and all these things.
So provoking people.
Yes, agitating people. And I'm happy he said that, because one of the things I do and people don't understand is that, well, let me just chip this in. I have a degree in English. And one of the things that I understand learning English is that shock value is very important in waking people up.
Yep.
So a lot of the things I do and say, they are intentional. I say things to make you upset. I say things to get you thinking, not just to sound like an idiot or to sound like an asshole, but if I didn't put it that way, you would just walk by.
Yeah.
If I have to call you to that point, and then once we are there, we can fight, we can talk, we can argue. But at the end of the day, something is going to get exchanged. And that is the purpose of everything that I do. If we have 12 hours of fighting and you get 1 minute of information that is useful to you, I'm happy.
So that's how Kojo earned the nickname Traitor to his gender. I'm friends with Kojo on Facebook. And it's actually sad and interesting at the same time that when I read your posts, they are not posts that should get people as angry
or
as they
agitated,
get on your post. Sometimes I read them like, is it that these men are refusing to understand, or they are just so blinded by their misogyny that the simplest thing they see, especially from a man, should trigger them this much?
Abina, there are so many angles you can look at it. When a lot of things have been normalized to someone, and then they see something that is not also so normal to what, like, for example, Kojo is a man, and the way he's talking about it in a way that it brings their attention, that is not what is normal to them. And I realized this didn't start for a lot of the men or people who get agitated. This didn't start now. It started from when they were teenagers, because in primary GSS, I belonged to a group of boys who were like the sharks. So anytime like there is exams and everything, from first position to about fifth position, they are all boys. But then there is this girl who would come to vacation classes. We think we've crashed the subject, like we are the boys, like who are you to come and even permeate into that group and all of that. But this girl, she's so good at maths and science. If we the boys try to get like 4/5, she will get 4.5/5. If we get 9, she'll get 9.5. Like, she's always a step ahead. And she's not like so much ahead, but she's just a little bit ahead of us. And it got all of us. I was part of it. So mad. Where is this girl coming from? Who is she? Who does she think she is? And all these sorts of insult and discrimination. But she was also my friend. So I rather thought, what is this that this girl is doing that we are actually not doing and we can't see? And I had the benefit of that friendship. And she's very open, very nice and lovely. Like, she's just a girl, just having fun. But she's just good at maths and science. And as we go to school, we learn from each other. So I spoke to her and all of that. Guess what? It just shows that, like, the girl only takes her time and doesn't skip any processes. She just makes sure if there is math, she's showing calculations of every step. All T's are dotted, all I's, everything. All T's are crossed, all I's are dotted. Yeah. And it shows you how she pays attention to detail. But for us, what I noticed even for the group of us, we are always in a hurry to finish and show that we are the boys. We are the men. How dare you come? Meanwhile, we could just take our time, pay attention, and make sure everything is crossed out, and we'll get our marks. That was a very hard lesson I learned long time ago. So it made me even get closer to her. She's a medical doctor now somewhere. Like, get closer to her, try to learn and all of that. And when you even ask her how she feels about all of the insults that the boys especially, and even some women, throw at her for just being good or being gifted at the subject that she's good at, like, sometimes it make her even doubt, like, why is she even here? Why does she have to go through all of this just because she is good? And this is what happens to a lot of the women, because we've normalized the boys leading, the boys doing things, and it is in our head as boys. And so the moment you see a girl break out of all the norms that society have imposed on her, then sometimes even men, we are threatened that the leadership roles, all the things that it's in our name that we've been sort of like imposed on us, even sometimes or many times without even working for. Somebody is coming for it. And so then it also generates all this sort of attitude and discrimination towards the girls. But it is also very important for us to learn that we coexist in this world.
Yeah.
And like one of us cannot live without the other.
Okay, we'll get to the details of that.
Very good.
Now let's, listeners and viewers, we are talking about male involvement towards ending violence against women. Oko and Kojo are still here with me. They haven't left me. We've started talking about your experiences. Let's get more into your experiences being a male voice in women's rights. For Kojo's experience, I can just like close my eyes and recount a few. But let's get into that. What has the experience been?
Well, it's been, for me, it's fulfilling. That's the first thing. But it's tough. Like, I won't sit here and say it's easy. It's tough. And again, I didn't start from Facebook. Ever since I was a boy, one of the things that people have said about me, and because we're on a podcast, I can't say, but if I say police, you understand. If you're a boy who is always protecting girls, well, they call you police because you won't let everybody else do what they want to do with these girls. They're always in your protection. And I figured out a long time ago that even though people say size doesn't matter, size does matter. Because of the way I present, people don't want to mess with me. So, and that's one of the other things that annoys men. When they come across a block in their pursuit of doing something to women, they get annoyed because one, you're a male, they expect you to kind of understand them. And two, when they figure out that physically you are more imposing than them, they get upset. So I have been, accused of a lot of things. I have been said to do all of this just for funds from women. And I do love the funds. I actually appreciate it. But that aside, that's not why I do it. Like, I always say that, not to brag, but I am not exactly bad looking. And if I wanted attention from women, I could just take off my top and take pictures and post. I will probably get more attention from women, less the insults and the attacks that people give me. And I'll still get, if it is women that I've been looking for, I would get that. It's really absurd that someone will go through all of this just for the attention of a few women who will come supposedly to my inbox, and then I would get sex from them or get sexual favors from them. There's way more opportunity for me to do it in different ways. I do it because it's important to me. I do it because I came out of a woman. I do it because I have seen from my position as a male that there's very little that oppressed people can do for themselves. And it starts from the one who is in the position of the oppressor. You might not be the particular oppressor, but you are part of the group. It may be your gender, it may be your race, maybe your economic status, but you are part of that group. And it takes you identifying your privilege and saying that, yes, I understand that I didn't ask for this. I didn't ask to be born a man and be given all these privileges. It was given to me because I was a man. But I understand that my sister is in a disadvantaged position because she didn't get these things. What can I do so that the playing field is evened? Then, after the playing field is even, I can hold my sister more accountable for her actions and her inactions. So this is where it started. It's been hard. I'm trying, I talk a lot. So I'm trying to keep myself in pocket. So yes, it's been hard. It's been tough, but it's been fulfilling because every time I get a message in my inbox saying, yo, thank you for this thing that you do. Sometimes it comes from men. Some men will reach out and say, bro, you know what? These things you they talk, because we know they understand, though, but you do it for calm down. I say, no, I know for calm down. Because if I didn't do it that way, you won't even come to my inbox. So I know I get on your nerves sometimes. I know I upset you a lot of the time, but it's for a good purpose. Now you are in my inbox, and instead of us discussing how we are going to get these girls to a party or whatnot, we are talking about rights. We are talking about what we can do. Even if you don't like how I said it, you can tell me, okay, Charlie, then we could do this way. It's progress. And then I get women come and tell me, you know what? I've been dealing with this. This post that you made or this thing that you said is helped me figure this out. It's helped me go through this process. And me, I've been a counselor since I was like 12 years old. Me, and if you do free night calls, those times, because someone has been harmed, has been upset, has been this. And like you there, you know my wife already, both of you. Like my wife, she's been with me since we were very young. And she knows, like sometimes she look at me like I'll be on the phone like 4 hours talking to somebody's daughter because someone has done something to her that is she didn't deserve. But it gives me fulfillment when I do these things. And as I started this online stuff, this is probably my 8th thesis that I've helped someone with. I've helped people write their feminist thesis, gender thesis, go through their assignments with them. I've done video interviews, help people write their articles. And I've even gotten people taking my articles and posting. So all of this is great for me. I have 2 sons, and I would love for them to grow up in a world where they are accountable for their actions. Nobody gives them a free pass just for the agenda. Because like we expect politicians, rich people, white people, all of these people to give up certain privileges so we can, or not give up, but give other people the same privileges they have so we can all coexist peacefully. It's the same thing I expect for women to be given. And people go ahead and say, yes, 20 years ago, it was not the same. Today, women are not oppressed. They are probably less oppressed, but it's not enough to make a difference. This is not where we say we've done enough for women. I appreciate that a lot has been done in the direction of helping women, mostly to no credit to men. A lot of it has to be snatched from them. Yeah. And then
we'll actually get into the details of that as well.
Yeah.
Let's get to Oko. Let's hear your experiences being.
So, like I said earlier, my experiences started from primarily health, specifically maternal health, reproductive health, and all of that. But the most fulfilling part of it is walking in town somewhere, like figuring out your own stuff. And then a woman out of nowhere runs and comes to hug you and tells you, thank you so much for that education you give myself and my children. My girl has delivered. She's back in school. She's learning. I am also checking in with her father. We are doing everything we can. Thank you so much. We cannot pay you. I don't even know who pays you. Like, thank you. We are so grateful for these things that you come to the community to do. These things are not planned for. They just happen over time. And when I used to work at a domestic violence response center, and I developed the case management system, and I was also with the team managing the cases that comes. And so we were assigning paralegals, lawyers, policemen, and psychosocial support and everything. And the number of cases and the level of issues that comes to us. One case may come, but at the end of the day, you end up providing services to about 4 or 5 people in a single case. Sometimes you even provide services to the fathers of young girls who have been defiled. Because as much as the girl is the one who survived the incident, the father is also dealing with having to do with the father. Like, their daughter has been defiled. How does he manage it? And there are so many pieces to the puzzle that we need to put together. So sometimes, several months later, when you are able to seek justice, work with these parents and the justice system to sort of make progress, and you are in the office, and then the parent even comes, and sometimes you see them kneel, just thank you, because they don't know how they would have dealt with their 13-year-old being defiled and where they would turn to. It tells you how important social justice is and how we need to protect our women, our girls, to the point that the men even benefit when we do that. And it takes a lot of investments, intentional investments, a lot of resources to train people, put these systems together. There are challenges. And sometimes you even ask yourself, why am I even doing this? Because 6 months working in such a center, sometimes you need the psychosocial services yourself because the issues come from all around the country. Sometimes where you are not physically present, you have to work through the Ministry of Gender and some of their social departments to make sure people are protected. And for me, looking at how I started and the reason why I started and how far I am now and the lives you've been able to touch, you are able to see that if somebody's daughter or parents are able to understand the reason why they have to protect their girls and to give them a voice, to let them be and stand on their feet, to fight and have that privileges that other people also have. It makes the world all a better place. Because of course I would want to have less cases to deal with so that I have more time to pay attention. Sometimes teenagers who are even afraid of informing their parents on some of these things, and we are glad that they can pick the phone and call a toll-free line and be able to get help. Sometimes when you go to school, headmasters, people see the issues, they want to do something about it, but they don't know how to solve it. So when they even reach out to us and we go into the schools and we start with very fun, educative activities, and the children start to tell you things that sometimes the school authorities are in shock, then they'll reach out to us. How do we deal with it? We need support and we need help. Even churches reach out to us because a lot of the young people, the things that they are teaching the young people and some of the things they are doing, it's going against the teachings of the church because they want the girls to stand and make positive contribution and lead very important, aspects of church. But there are a lot of issues of abuse and the women cannot stand for their rights. And so if a church calls us and says that issues are happening among the young people in our church and we need to address it, but we do not know which way to go, please, we need help. All of these bits and pieces tells us that we are in the right direction. But like Kojo said, there is still more to be done. And we will keep fighting because we recognize the privileges that we have just by being men. And so we are also in that understanding. We understand that we need to also give up some of, or not should I say give up some of the privileges, but at least let others have the privileges that we have so they'll be able to stand on their own shoes and fight for themselves. And it's very fulfilling when you see how people have made progress over an issue and have survived. That is I'll say the best part of the job, because when you see all the resources and time and effort you put into a case and the case gets to the point of closure and the survivor is very happy back to their normal routine, their parents are very happy and appreciative of the fact that there are systems that can help. They also acknowledge that it may not be all smooth and rosy because sometimes emotions are high and you have to deal with each component of all of these people in the case or the surrounding that this is happening. And it just tells me that I know and I'm hoping that there are more young men who are coming. And of course, we'll do our best to still train and mentor a lot of other young men. So to make sure there are more of us doing this for our sisters to really appreciate our roles in their lives and even to the development of all of us in the community.
Awesome. We are really pressed for time, but I'm really glad that you've shared these insights and these experiences, and I'm really happy also to know that you've done the work to the extent that people can come to you and say, I'm so happy that you are doing this. And that also shows how important male involvement is in this fight against violence against women. I'm going to put two questions together because we are pressed for time.
Okay.
Let's talk about why male involvement is important, and talk about, what ways men can be involved. You have shared your experience and how, the impact you've been making. Why is it important for men to be involved in this fight? It's violence against women. Why is it a man's business? And how can more men be like you or do the things you are doing and even better?
Okay. Be like us, they go hard. They go tired. But
it's possible.
More
right?
serious, on a more serious note. Why it is important for men to be involved in this is first of all, we shouldn't even be asking this question. It's our people, it's our mothers, our sisters, our friends, our wives, our daughters, our nieces. And even if it's none of them, it's a person. And just like you expect as a man to be able to live a full life, to be able to get up in the middle of the night and take a walk without fearing for your life, to be able to finish school, get a job, and not to be asked for sex before you get it, to be able to marry another person and have a voice in your partnership with that person, have a say on how many children you would have, on how much economic impact you would make in your own life and in the life of your family. It's important that we as men get involved we traditionally have been the gatekeepers of these things, economics and social development. A lot of people say women build society. Yes, they raise the children, but men have made the rules traditionally. Men have decided how society will be run traditionally. And a lot of men don't like it when I say this, but men are the most dangerous to both men and women. And so as a man, I know that I look like the person that probably raped my sister. I look like the person that probably abused my cousin. I look like that person. It may not be me, but when she sees me, she's triggered because I have the image of the person who did that to her. So it's my job to let her know that we are not all the same. That's the first thing. It's my job to prove it. And I get a lot of resistance even from women because they doubt my true intentions, my true intentions in what I'm doing. And every time I'm asked, I say that I expect women to doubt me because I look like the person who did those things to them. And I could just be pretending. So women have a right to question men who say they are fighting for them because we are the same people harming them. So we need to keep doing it so women know that men are genuinely interested in their welfare. And then we also need to do it so that our own society is better. It's everybody feels the same level of commitment, the same level of freedom, the same level of respect, the same level of rights. Now, what can men do? Men listen to men.
That's a fact.
Men are raised to listen to men. Traditionally, women's voices are annoyances to men. Wasn't Besafo. They nag, they do this, they do that. They don't. They speak their mind, but it has been taught to be registered as noise to men. But men are raised as each other's equals. That is why a man will respect a poor man before he respects a rich woman. Because it's not even about the money she has. It's just because he's a man. So what I can say to Oko, for him to listen, he might not even like it, but he will listen. Because it's coming from me. If he said the same thing, it would be easier for him to disregard it and not even pay attention. So if men truly want this thing to change, it is us that have to hold each other accountable. We speak the same language. So the same thing Benewaa will say to Oko, I have a way I can tell him that he would actually understand, okay, maybe what I did was wrong. And if he doesn't want to listen, the other thing that is the problem is that men are less likely to be violent to another man. So even if he's upset by what I said, he won't throw hands. He will still listen, but he might not get to the place of violence that he would resort to when it's women. So if you're a man and you really want to see women progress and want to see women do better, you take the punches, quote, not the physical punches, but you take the punches, you take the heat. You speak to your brothers, your cousins, your friends, and then if you are raising boys, speak to them. Don't give them the same orientation that you were giving, such as men are better than women, or men deserve more than women, or you are coming to take care of somebody's daughter, so you deserve to have more opportunities than her. No. Raise
like you
these
own your wife.
Yes, raise these young men to believe that they are finding someone that is their partner, their friend. And everything is not about marriage. But even if you get to work and then you come and there is a woman who is the same position as you or higher or lower, the same way you would respond if a man in that position interacted with you. Train your children to respond that way. By doing so, we take away one leg of the problem, which is the boys. Then when we have daughters, we also raise them to have more integrity, more self-respect, more belief in their abilities, and not tell them things like, oh, the way you're back, you finish school and get married. And you know, when you're at home, you give your daughters traditional slaving roles and give your sons traditional king roles. These things have a way of sticking in people's minds. They grow, they form an opinion, and now they are grown-ups and I have to be fighting with them. Let's deal with them when they are boys and they are girls, and it might just go away.
That is so profound, Kojo.
Abna, in all of these things, in a country where there are laws, regulations, parliamentarians, all of those things, when you check the statistic between the number of women in parliament and that of men, even in Ghana, that's in the West African or African region as a whole, we are progressive. There's a huge difference. Yeah. And so in order for there to be systems where if somebody's right has been abused, that those systems will respond to these issues, there needs to be policy development, which then transitions into programs and all of these laws and stuff. And there are more men in parliament. And so
women are 14.5%.
Exactly. And so if we, the men, do not even get involved, so we'll be able to speak to our co-equals in parliament and help them understand how these issues are affecting our sisters, our daughters, our wives, our friends, our colleagues at work and school. Who will do it? Because our own people who are likely to listen to us more are the ones making the law, signing all of the things that need to be signed. Even if the women in parliament decide to unite, they still will not match the number of men and the people who are supposed to sign all of this, there are names for it, all of these things,
laws and policies.
Like the laws and policies, and sometimes, depending on the nature of the cases, have to go through different, it is men who are occupying these positions.
Let me give an example to what you just said. We had been fighting for the removal of taxes on period products for the longest time.
Yes.
There had been a lot of marches. There's been a lot of noise.
Yep.
We organized the march. The day before the march, we got an information that Speaker of Parliament wants to speak with us. We waited and waited around. He was in meetings the whole time, and so we couldn't meet him. So we left. And the next morning, we organized the march. And when he heard we were in Parliament, he suspended sitting and had a private meeting with us. And then he said, he didn't know that there was this much tax on parts. And, he only heard about it recently. And he agrees with us that these shouldn't be there. And he made a promise that by the next budget reading, which was to happen in November, last November it happened, he was going to make sure that those taxes are removed. And he went to Parliament and he made a statement. And it was his statement that made this issue international. It was on BBC. It was on every news outlet. And it took just one man.
Exactly. And
just
so if the men don't understand and appreciate the issues, for them to stand in and make these laws, statements and promises and move things, then we will not be making any progress if we are not really getting involved. And these things are very important.
A part of it was removed. The one for imported raw materials for the local production of parts were removed. We are still fighting for the others, but that was a good outcome from his effort.
And it tells you that, it didn't even have to be a woman. Just by understanding the issues that women go through, when we all work together, you'll be able to move the needle and point things to the right direction. And you see the impact of that on several other young Ghanaian women. It will be in history forever for this member of parliament to understand and appreciate. And of course, the women will feel, okay, their voice also matters.
Yeah.
You understand? That is why it is very, very important. Like, by our agenda, we've never experienced nearly what it is to menstruate before. But I have seen my colleagues lie on the floor the whole day and they cannot work. They are not productive. And so I don't feel it. I don't go through it. But seeing someone, I can talk and bring their attention to it that, no, this person's rights to, cheaper products, or should I say affordable, yet very good product for her in this time of need is very important. And of course, that is why we need to work together. And God bless the member of the Speaker of Parliament for pushing this. He's showing us that it's not only as activists and development workers, but for policymakers and lawmakers like himself, he's setting up the example just so that even for people who may call Kojo a traitor, or those who may even sometimes drive people like me out of their community because they feel like we are empowering the girls, like we are letting the girls know how to stand up for their rights. And so by that, we are literally snatching the rights that the men in the community have over them and all of that. He's making our work worth it. Because if we do all the community mobilization and education, and at the end of the day, the laws don't get changed, things may remain the same.
Still be difficult. Thank you so much, Kojo and Oko. We've been talking about how men can be involved in ending violence against women. Our time is up, and do I take it those are your last words? I think they fit for last words.
I always have last words.
Should I give you 1 second?
Yeah, give me 1 second.
1 second.
I will take it. So I have a last word to say. What I would like to tell men is that and it's something I learned for myself. When I started this activism, I realized that sometimes men become the center of women's movement. And I became that person at one time. And when that happens, it takes away from the autonomy of women. It takes away from the place of women. And so sometimes what we need to do is that we need to follow our sisters' leads, our mothers' leads, our aunties' leads. Speak to your sisters first. Before you say what your sister needs, ask your sister, what do you need? Then build on that point. Don't go out and say, my sister needs rice. My sister needs, maybe what your sister actually needs is a different kind of rice from what you're asking for. So let's not center ourselves in women's movements. Let's be a part of it. Let's support them. But let us always let women lead their movements and their championing causes, because it's theirs. What they need from us is support. They do not need us coming into that same space and then taking it over. That becomes the same problem they've been fighting, because we've actually entered women's spaces and now we are the biggest voice in the space. If Kojo doesn't speak, nothing gets done for women. It's not right. So let's not become that person.
Amplify women's voices.
Exactly.
Do not center yourself.
A win for women's rights is a win for everybody.
Thank you, Oko. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Like I mentioned earlier, we've been talking about male involvement in ending violence against women. Ep3 is running this campaign called Solidarity Against Sexual and Gender-Based Violence. Our focus is to shift narratives, change perspectives, and hope that in the end, there is a massive behavioral change and women can live with respect and live in dignity and not be subjected to any form of abuse from either men or women. This is where we wrap up. My name has been Abena Benewaa Fusu. I've been speaking with Kojo Osei Ghansah, who is a women's rights activist and a feminist ally, and Francis Oko Armah, who is the founder and executive director of Youth Community, which is a youth development organization. We'll come your way again next time with another podcast. Stay safe.